everybody, to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 49.
Oh, yeah. Today we are coming to you with a conspiracy and chill session today. Mm-hmm. We are talking about the death of Marilyn Monroe.
Or Monroe.
Monroe.
I was corrected a lot in my video for that.
Marilyn Monroe.
Monroe. Super, super interesting case today. One that I talked about on my channel a while back, but, you know, I wanted to do a more in-depth look because that was like maybe the second or third conspiracy video I ever did. But it is something that's just always intrigued me. I'm, you know, really interested in the Kennedys, and Marilyn Monroe's all intertangled in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really interesting. But before we get started, I wanted to address why I'm wearing sunglasses today.
It's really bright in here, man.
For those of you who are listening, you don't know this, but I am wearing some sunglasses today, which is weird because I never do. But the reason is because I have had this, like, as you guys know, I've had tons of health issues this year. It's just been like symptom after symptom. It's like so fucking annoying. And about 3 months ago, I developed this like rash on my eyes and like all around my eyes, above my eyes. And it's kind of like come and gone since then. Like it'll come back strong a little bit and then it'll go back away a little bit. So anyway, I've been dealing with this since like beginning of October. So it's been a long time. And I've tried eliminating like, okay, maybe it's my concealer. So I stopped using concealer and all I use is foundation that I've used for 5 years. So I know it's not that. I got rid of eye creams, multiple eye creams that I thought I could be. None of that worked. So it's clearly, it's not an allergic reaction. I feel like I've narrowed down, like there's nothing it could be that I haven't been using for so long.
Mystery rash.
It is. And I'm going to show it to you guys for a second. The reason I'm wearing I just didn't want you guys to have to look at it the whole time. And I tried to put makeup on before I started recording and it was just a disaster. And then I got really stressed out about how bad I looked. And I started crying, which made the rash worse. So you can't, you know, get makeup to stick on. It's just like going to make it way worse trying to put makeup on.
Well, just so you know, it doesn't look as bad as it did like 15 minutes ago. It's already calmed down. Okay. It was really red and puffy and like, yeah, it's definitely already looking better.
We were thinking about not even recording. I was like, I can't do this. Like I was so stressed out.
Oh,
but then I was like, I want to do it. Like we worked hard on this. And so
we can't do that.
I'm here in sunglasses. And Josh was like, I'll wear sunglasses with you, babe. It'll be fine. You don't even have to tell people why. But seriously,
we could pretend to be Casey Neistat for an episode.
Yeah, that's true. He does wear them all the time. He'd probably wear them if he was here right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to channel Casey vibes today.
He does that all the time. So why can't we do it? Why?
It's just like, you know, these health problems have held me back so many times. Today I was like, no. And, you know, it sucks. I have no idea what's going on. I think it could be something hormonal. I've possibly even looked at the possibility of lupus. So I'm going to be exploring that with my doctor. I really hope not.
That would be terrible.
I don't know if I have enough of the symptoms. I don't even know if this rash like mimics it enough, but it is very strange. I do think something's going on internally, like something's weird. So hopefully this is the year of getting down to the bottom of it. And that is why I'm wearing sunglasses. So.
Yeah. Fuck illness. Fuck disease.
Dude, I'm sick of it. I was telling Josh today, like it's tiring and the stress of having to perform on top of it. Like a lot of people struggle with health issues out there. I'm not the only one, clearly. But the difference is like, you know, a lot of people work at like jobs where they can like work behind a desk or they, you know, just work with a small group of coworkers or like people that they see all the time that they're used to. It's different to be on camera 3 times a week for thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Like I can't explain that pressure to anyone unless they know what it's like. Sitting down and recording knowing like 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 people are going to watch it is stressful, especially when you feel really, really shitty inside. So anyway.
So thanks for bearing with us. And yeah, thank you for the support, y'all. We really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And if you can't tell, Kendall's wearing one of our awesome merch sweatshirts for repping the podcast. If you're interested in repping one of these sweet sweatshirts or getting one of our conspiracy and chill sweatshirts, if you haven't checked those out, they're a top seller for sure, and they're really cool.
That's my favorite design too.
If you're interested in conspiracies like we are, you know, show it.
Show it on your shirt. Show it on yourself.
But yeah, you can get 10% off our store with the code MileHigher at milehighermerch.com. Another thing I wanted to mention to you guys that's new is Hemp Bombs, who we partner with for all of our CBD products, which is really good stuff. They came out with a nighttime CBD gummy formula with high potency.
Oh my gosh,
so there's almost 500 milligrams of CBD in this. And
that worked well last night.
Dude, this stuff is legit, man. And I'm not just saying that. 2 gummies and you're going to have probably the best sleep you've had in a while.
Yeah,
so,
it works really well. No joke.
Highly recommend checking.
I wasn't tired at all last night, and I was like, "Josh, I'm not tired.
Literally.
I can't go to sleep." And he was like, "Pop one of these," and I did because I hadn't tried these new ones yet, and I was out. I was out like a light. I literally rolled over. I was like, "Don't talk to me. Good night."
Yeah, literally, it's amazing what it does. It's got melatonin, but it's got a bunch of CBD and some other good stuff in there. So if you're interested in this,
like if you have pain, and a lot of the times if you have chronic pain or any type of pain issues, like you notice it more in your bed, like just laying there. So it helps, counteract some of that pain as well, which helps, you're more comfortable and able to go to sleep.
Yeah, it's literally CBD, pure CBD and melatonin. Yep. And then a little theanine.
I think it's theanine, or I don't know. My mom takes that stuff like religiously. I've taken it too.
Yeah, highly recommend
good for stress.
Trying these guys out for sure. And you can get 20% off your order with the code MileHigher. So take advantage of that.
Amen.
I'll put that right there for you so you guys can look at it the whole time or think about the dreams you might have with the CBD gummies. So anyways, let's get into this week's Patron question coming from our girl, Bellamy. She asked us, do you think we have ever met someone that is a murderer?
Well,
there's
actually a statistic. God, I wish I had it actually in front of me.
Actually.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that everyone has.
Well, there's a lot of
cross paths.
So the statistic that I found was that so if you live in a city of on average of about 260,000 people, and say somebody actually like crunched all the statistics out to like actually get a number of how many times your paths might cross with or meet somebody that is a killer in your lifetime. And based upon a city of 260,000 people and living to an average age of 70 years old, you will cross paths with at least 16 killers throughout your whole lifetime.
Yeah. So everyone, I guess the statistic I was going to say was just that everyone has at least crossed path with one killer in their life. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. Statistically, yes.
Yeah. But that's also including like people who have killed people in the military. So the statistic does include that.
That would make sense.
Anyone who's killed anyone. So it could be a police officer. It's not all necessarily like
murders or serial killers or something. Yeah.
Yeah. As far from what I read.
Is there anybody in your life that you have ever crossed paths with that you're maybe even thought like, I wonder if they are a serial killer or I know we have come across some people just being out in our travels and things like that where we're just like, that person could totally. Well, I don't know. There's just
Is there someone you can think of? I'm curious now. Out in our travels, who did we think was a serial killer?
Well, we were running from that one guy in Australia.
Wait, we were running?
Remember? Oh, yeah. We were escaping from that guy. That guy was that guy was creeping us out a little bit. That's a different
story for a different day, but yeah, we fucking ran from his ass.
Literally got off the ferry in Sydney and ran
That's embarrassing.
10 blocks to our hotel.
Don't even tell them that story.
Because we thought this guy was following us.
Oh my God. And he was really old.
Yeah. Yeah, he was literally probably 65. I don't know.
We probably looked insane.
And we were literally kind of running, guys. We were like,
no, we were running. I was fucking running.
And then we'd like stop and like peek around the corner. Is he still there? Is he coming?
Yeah.
Do you see him?
We thought someone was like stalking us.
Yeah.
Long story. But anyway, moving on.
But yeah, I don't think I've for sure ran into somebody that I was like definitely a killer.
I feel like I've run into people that I'm like, you look like you might kill somebody. Like, you're fucking weird.
But it's always...
Or that you could kill somebody.
But that's the thing is, like, it could be the most unsuspecting person, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what is often the case is that these individuals...
Chances are if you've met a killer, you didn't know
You never know.
You wouldn't even be able to
could be
point to it.
the guy at Einstein's.
But I have had some people that, like, that we would not necessarily think would be a killer that I actually think might be. Like, people that just seem so fake to me. I don't want to say their names right now, but I could tell you when we're off camera of people that we've not anyone we're like close with, but just like people we've worked with and like people we've done business with and stuff. I feel like there's been some creeps along the way, you know?
True that.
Teachers even. I've had teachers that give me like, dude, something's weird about this person.
Like even think about this person could be capable of
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're all actually killers, but like I look at some people, I'm just like, you're just like I guess it's more of like I get sociopath vibes. Like they could do it, that they wouldn't feel, they'd like feel remorseless if they did it.
Right. It wouldn't be a big deal if they cross that line. And
some people just come across so fake to me that I don't think they have that natural emotion.
Well, we've seen it. I mean, we've seen people that have, you know, either accidentally or purposely.
And when you like start learning about all this shit that I do, you start thinking everyone around you is a fucking possible killer.
Dude, seriously.
I have nightmares where like our sweet ass neighbor that I love, he's so nice. Sometimes I think even he.
Oh, no, not Frank.
No, don't say his name. But I'm like scared because then I remember Disturbia. I'm like, Do you ever think like that? It scares me. I'm like, what has he got in his basement though?
Oh, yeah.
Well, one time he took Sadie into his house. He was like, can I take Sadie inside? And he's so nice. He was like, my wife wants to see her. And I was like, sure. And then he took her inside and I was just waiting outside alone. And then I got really scared. I was like, oh my God, he just took my dog. Like, what if he like is a dog serial killer and I just let her go in there? And then of course, like 5 minutes later, he came out and she's like wagging her tail and had a treat and everything. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely get paranoid about that kind of stuff because this is the world that we live in. There are,
well, especially
like, what
especially
is the statistic?
once you're
17,
16 in your
16?
lifetime.
Oh my gosh. You got to be vigilant, people.
Which also means that
your
your life could potentially be in danger at any of those points in time. If you think about it, because a lot of killers, you know, they pick targets at random. So you never know.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah,
it's hard not to go down that road though. When you're like into true crime as much as we are and stuff, is like, you start looking at all the different cases and all the different ways that people go missing and, you know, get murdered and everything. Like just the other night, I was thinking about like, what did we, a case that you're doing. I just had like finished editing and I was like, I came to you, I was like,
yeah, it's coming out.
Can you imagine like
in place of Talk Tuesday,
people breaking into our house in the middle of the night and like killing us? Like,
so the case is actually, I'll just talk about it for a second because it is a really popular one right now in the news. Jamie Kloss. I'm covering it tomorrow night, so it will be up for Talk Tuesday, which I wasn't planning. It got all messed up because I'm working with a family member on an upcoming video, and she needed extra time, so I moved everything around. But basically, this will be going up. But it's about this girl. Someone just came to their house, shot her dad down in the doorway, shot her mom, and took her, and they have no idea who did it.
Yeah.
And when you're editing this kind
really
of stuff,
weird.
You think like, what could this kind of thing like happen to me? That's so bizarre. Like you never think that would happen to you. Like I'm sure the Kloss family never thought that would happen to them.
But the fact that it does happen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the amount of things like that happen that people actually get away with. And are on the run from.
Yeah, they have no idea.
And they have zero clue of who it could be.
Yeah, there's really like no solid leads. That blows my mind. There's not even like a direction.
Real suspects or anything. I mean, it's like,
yeah, it's fucking weird.
Poof, they're gone, you know? So I don't know. It's really, really crazy. But let's get into this week's stories. There's some good ones here.
And now it's time for Woke News This Week.
Oh, yeah. All right. So obviously this week, one of the big stories was that China landed on the dark side of the moon, which is actually a very big deal. Now, first of all, let's just clear this up. There is no dark side of the moon. It's the far side of the moon because both sides do get illuminated. But we sometimes refer to it as the dark side.
Because the dark side of the moon. Who doesn't like to call it that? It sounds so cool. It's better than the far side.
But it's only because we can't see that side.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, whatever. Don't ruin our illusion. It's fun to pretend it's the dark side.
Yeah, that's true. I do like that much better. But the reason why we don't see the other side is because of a phenomenon called tidal locking, which this is because the moon takes just as long to rotate on its own axis as it takes to complete one orbit of the Earth. Isn't that interesting how that works? And I'm almost like, there's this whole idea of like the moon being artificial. And sometimes I'm like, God, how are these things just like so perfect in that they line up and that we can't ever see like the other side? And I don't know. It just makes your little conspiracy mind go crazy because you're like, how really the moon just like happened to get itself in this tidal lock and we can't ever see the other side of it. Like, is that on purpose? Maybe? I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know. I just think it's interesting, but basically, China landed a rover called the Chang'e 4, which is now exploring the moon on the far side. It touched down on the far side of the moon this past Thursday. And this was actually a huge deal for China. China's actually kind of like taking the lead in sort of the space exploration these days. They're putting a ton and seriously loads of money. Like China is going to be such a huge superpower. I mean, they already are, but they're going to be miles ahead of us if we don't get our act together and start taking space exploration more seriously as a nation.
Seriously. I just don't understand why. I mean, some people seriously don't think it matters at all. Some people get angry and they're like, we need to focus more on the ocean than space, which I agree. We should explore the ocean more too. But space exploration is so important. It's all there is.
Yeah, I mean, we should know what's outside of our planet. I mean, we should know because right here's the thing is we could be wiped out by an asteroid or meteorite at any point in time, and that's the boom, that's the end of civilization. Yeah. We're all gone.
True.
So it's kind of important, don't you think, that we know what's going on out there?
Just a little bit important.
Because what the official thing that they want to do is they want to eventually set up telescopes and things. They want to build on that side of the moon so that they can look further into space from that side. But there's been a big issue because in the past, without satellites and such, that the way they exist today, there's no way to communicate on the far side because all radio traffic just shuts off because the moon's in the way. So what China had to do in order for this whole operation to work is they had to put a satellite up nearby to relay back to Earth the images. So the images that you actually see of the dark side of the moon are being relayed through a satellite back to Earth, but it is the other side. But what's the most interesting thing about this is that they're actually they're obviously there to look at it and study it and get samples and things like that, but they're trying to find this huge crater, and it's 1,500 miles or so in diameter, 13 kilometers deep. It's one of the largest impact craters in the solar system and the largest, deepest, and oldest basin on the moon. So this is the mega crater. And to me, I'm that's interesting. I wonder if there could be anything in there. Because I'm it's hard for me to believe that we've been to the moon as several times, yet we never thought it'd be a good idea to start building things on the moon.
Yeah, you'd think we would. Yeah, that's so odd.
I mean, if you're not going to send humans back up there, why wouldn't they send, for the past...
Jesus. It's my dad.
Why haven't they in the past, sent other robots or other rovers and things like that and created, at least artificial structures on the moon? Obviously, there's a whole conspiracy about the moon, which will be another episode. But it is very interesting that China's very interested in this deep crater because who knows what they'll stumble upon. What could be in that crater? For all we know, there could be.
I'm so glad they're exploring it.
Could be something there. So it's really interesting. It's really a big, giant leap for space exploration. And China's leading the way. So I thought that was very interesting. I was going to also mention that there's several accounts from former military intelligence officials who have claimed that there's more on the far side of the moon than NASA is letting on. Obviously, probably true. Carl Wolf, a technician at the Air Force Tactical Air Command headquarters in Langley, Virginia, analyzed data from the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, claiming he and his colleagues viewed artificial structures on the dark side of the moon, including radar antennas and structures made by intelligent beings.
Wow. Interesting.
So this is coming from former intelligence officials who claim that this is what they collected from data that we have on the far side of the moon. Others have also claimed that there's underground tunnels that were captured in images by India's Chandrayaan lunar orbiter, and these tunnels on the dark side were likely the product of tubes of lava flow that created a massive system of caves potentially inhabited by living beings.
Oh, juicy.
So I think there's a lot of interesting things that we can find.
Moon cave creatures. I was going to say Mars at first. Moon cave
if there's some natural life there?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Well, a lot of people think there's it's literally a base for extraterrestrials.
Yeah,
and
that's what
humans
I'm thinking.
Alike.
Well, yeah, not just humans, but just beings of any type.
There could be an international spaceport on the moon.
Wow.
That people come in and travel out of and fly by to visit the Earth.
Yeah, who knows? Or that could be just a giant rock. That's the alternative.
It could just be a giant piece of rock that just happened to fall into orbit and happened to be tidal locked and happened to have all of these caves and everything. Okay. Maybe. All right. More on that later.
More on that. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that, though, this year.
It will. There's, interesting things coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this story, one of you guys tweeted. I'm sorry, I forgot who it was, but.
Oh, God.
Dude.
I'm seeing the title of this and I don't even want to know. How did I not hear about this?
Dude, an Idaho science teacher earlier this year made national headlines after feeding a sick puppy to a snapping turtle in front of students. And the reason why this was in the news is because he was found not guilty of animal cruelty on Friday.
What the fuck? Oh, I do think I remember this now that I'm thinking about it.
I think it was like March or so.
What the
maybe
hell?
March. Yeah.
Who
March or
would
May.
do that?
So, so basically this sick puppy was a puppy that he had gotten from a local farmer whose dog had given birth and believed the puppies were taxing the mother's health. Now, the farmer testified that the puppy was very sick and refused to eat, and he believed the dog's death was imminent. But that's when Mr. Crossland decided he would feed the puppy to one of his classroom animals.
Why? That seems like such a bad decision, dude. Like, who the fuck would do that in front of kids?
Well, the feeding happened after the school day was over, and it was only in the presence of 3 students who were in the classroom. And the mother of the 2 boys defended the teacher's actions earlier this year. And the students testified during the trial that they had no issue with what happened. I think that's like, obviously at first glance, you're like, in front of a whole class?
Yeah.
But it was after school, and it was 3 kids that were like, yeah, I'll stick around to see
But isn't that
live
strange,
feeding.
like, to feed a puppy to a turtle?
Well, first he tried to feed it to his python, but the python didn't eat the puppy, so the teacher then placed the puppy in the snapping turtle's tank.
Does this guy have no soul?
Where the canine briefly swam before the turtle dragged it to the bottom of the tank, drowned it, and ate it. And the students were present. All testified that they did not have an issue. So obviously this blew up online.
I have an issue.
PETA flipped the fuck out. Tons of people are really pissed about this.
That's just, I mean, I get it. It's like the circle of life, but like,
they don't think it's
why do you have to put
appropriate.
It's a puppy though. Like,
it was about to die though. Like,
well, why can't you just wait till it's dead then? I don't think it's very kind to feed a living animal to a
well,
snapping
these
turtle.
types of animals need live prey.
But is it common for them to eat puppies? Like, is that part of their diet? This is strange to me.
Probably not, honestly. But yeah, it is a bit strange. I would say it's very strange.
It's just odd. Like, who would do that? Ew.
Maybe slightly traumatic to watch this.
Yeah.
To watch a little cute puppy get dragged to the bottom of the
I don't
tank.
even want to like know what kind of puppy. I don't even want to.
Sorry for all those who sit there with your dogs and you're just looking. I'm like, oh God, I can never imagine.
No snapping turtles are
this snapping turtle's a savage, dude. He's a beast.
Really?
And the State Department of Idaho actually seized it and killed the turtle.
Stop.
Yeah, the turtle died because of this too. He wasn't supposed to have it. He didn't have a right permit for it. Some type of like exotic snapping turtle.
Oh no.
And because
then
of all this,
teacher's a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. You should not have.
So he got the puppy killed and he got the tortoise killed.
Dude, you know what? That's just irresponsible. You should not have a pet illegally. That is so bad. There's a reason that you're not supposed to have that animal. Oh my gosh, that just makes me so pissed. This guy got nothing.
No, scot-free. He's still a teacher.
God.
The community supported him about it.
They should take his python.
Because I mean, at the end, yes, if you look at it from an emotional point of view, it is very disturbing, and emotionally, it does make you very sad because nobody wants to see it.
But
legally, from a scientific perspective, if you think about the zoo, they feed live shit to all their animals.
If it was
all the time.
a rat, no one would have blinked an eye.
Right, exactly.
I get it.
But because it's a puppy, and it wasn't like the puppy was going to live anyway; it was going to die. So circle of life, baby. Feed
it's very irresponsible to just to be a teacher that is having an illegal pet in your classroom. That is what I will say. So,
if I were a teacher, I'd at least get parental permission. I'd be like, go home, cover my ass, and be like.
Doesn't matter if you have parental permission. You need legal permission to own the turtle.
Well, it was just that species. You can have a turtle.
Yeah, but you can't have that turtle. There's a reason there's not snapping turtles. That's the first thing I thought when I read the stories. Why the fuck is there like a giant snapping turtle in a classroom?
Yeah, what if
a
kid stuck his hand in there?
Yeah,
and got his hand snapped.
They didn't even allow fish at the school I was working at in high school.
And a python too? That's kind of, I don't know.
There's a python in the classroom?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was at home or something.
No, this is it's a classroom pet. He has a python.
This guy needs to
apparently in Idaho, you can have a zoo in your classroom.
And this is like a public school?
Yeah.
Well, it's really dangerous and irresponsible to be having an exotic pet. A pet that's considered exotic in your classroom, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for education, but like take them to the zoo or something. I just don't understand why you would keep an illegal pet. I think having a pet in a classroom is good, but why do you have to have one that's illegal? I don't understand that. Like, how did the school even let that slip by?
It's not that it's like it's not like it's illegal. It's just he didn't have the proper permit from the state in order to have. It's not like a totally banned species. You have to apply to get a permit. You can get permits for like crazy animals, but
how could they allow him to have that?
I think the school might have allowed him to have it because they just assumed he probably had a permit, and they probably didn't look into it too much. But that's I think at the end of the day, it's like, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think about this one? I mean, it can go either ways. Animal lovers gonna be like, fuck that dude. But on the other hand,
I still say
from a scientific perspective, it's like,
I don't know if there's legal.
I guess it's, I don't know. I guess it's interesting to see a snapping turtle eat an animal, a dog.
Fuck?
Like,
if I was a kid in that classroom, I would have definitely had a problem and I would have testified. I would have been so pissed. I would have like called my parents and been crying. I can't even imagine if I saw that.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine just seeing like a poor puppy get shredded and be okay with
and we're done.
Everything. That's just me, but I don't know.
Perfect transition, Josh, into our sponsor for today.
So today's first sponsor, guys, is a new one. Today's podcast episode is brought to you by Torrid,
which is awesome. And I'm really excited because I've been a Torrid customer for a really long time, and I've been talking about Torrid on my channel for a while.
How'd you even find them?
Oh my gosh, a long time ago, like in high school, just at the mall with my mom was the first time I remember shopping there. And I still have clothes from that shopping trip.
Really?
Like, yeah, this stuff lasts.
Yeah, it's actually good quality.
It's very good quality.
Right.
Yes.
So it's, for those that don't know exactly, Torrid is a fashion brand for women who wear sizes 10 to 30. That's like, right, that's the big thing, right?
Yeah, which, by the way, today we were talking about Marilyn Monroe, who I believe was a size 10. Plus size actually starts technically like in the modeling industry at size 8. So it's incredibly common to be plus size. I think some people are embarrassed by it. I've never been. I've always been like kind of in between sizes.
Who gives a fuck? Like,
yeah. I shop everywhere because I happen to be right on the line. Like I shop at Torrid. I can shop in plus size and, I just kind of like on the line there, but I love the quality of Torrid's clothes, and they're so comfortable, and they just make them with women with curves in mind, and that's why I like it. Like it's not like sometimes I get shirts and they're just super short, like the torso. I'm like, who the fuck fits in this? Or like, they don't fit larger breasts, and these clothes just are made for women with a bit more curve to them, like me.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other great thing about it is you can literally get your whole wardrobe there. Right?
Yes.
You can get anything and everything there.
Yep.
From jeans to intimates to cute dresses, tops. They've got it all so that you can get fit perfection for your body.
Yes.
That's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because one size does not fit all, right?
And great shoes. Yeah, one size definitely doesn't fit all. And their shoes are awesome because they have wider ones too. So if you have like a larger instep, it's a lot more comfortable.
And they're everywhere, guys. I'm sure there's probably one near you. They have standalone stores, I think, and then they also are in most malls as well, I think. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely everywhere. So if you are interested in checking out Torrid, right now you can go to torrid.com and use the promo code MileHigher15 for $15 off every $50 you spend. That means you can get up to $150 off a $500 order. Torrid.com, promo code MileHigher15 for $15 off every $50 you spend. Torrid.com, promo code MileHigher15.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Let's get into this. It's
honestly
hot.
Such a great episode for Torrid to be sponsoring.
Yeah, really.
Marilyn Monroe.
Perfect, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't connect those two. So this is just by chance that
most people don't really think of Marilyn Monroe as like a plus size woman, but she was a size 10, I believe. Or maybe she was a size 8. I can't remember, but she was not the standards for Hollywood now, like just the society standard for beauty is so much different than it was back then. Marilyn Monroe was like the hottest girl on the market. Like every guy was into her.
Yeah.
And she was more relatable. She would do photo shoots in swimsuits and sit with like belly rolls. And
show like natural rolls that everybody fucking has.
She was natural and relatable and different. And that was so cool. And she was still sexy as hell. Like,
oh yeah,
she was
all the guys wanted Marilyn Monroe.
Total sex symbol, you know? Man. Yeah, so I love Marilyn Monroe. I'm so excited to talk about her because she is definitely someone who
embodies this body positive lifestyle, I think, for the most part, right?
Yes.
I think she was very body positive. Not what I was going to say,
but yes.
She, you know.
Oh, totally. She had that attitude of like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I just love that about her. So
she's got that confidence, that swag that
she gave a lot of women confidence at the time too. Like, just kind of inspired
and
other women.
And it just kind of be like, you know, I can use my beauty to my advantage and be like, you know, I've got some power over these men, like these stupid men out here that are.
But what she learned quick is like, it's never enough power.
Right.
You know?
Very true.
It's never always the best way to go. It's never always. That made a lot of sense. But yes, her real name was actually Norma Jean, too.
I don't know how I never knew this, but I literally had like an aha moment the other night reading about her. And I was like,
Josh was like, did you know her name's Norma?
I was like, wait a minute. So her name is really not Marilyn Monroe. It's
no, that is such a stage
Norma
name.
Jean Mortensen, but Norma Jean. I just thought it was so cool that her name was Norma Jean. This is just a side fact, but I used to listen to a band when I was younger called Norma Jean, and I never really understood where that name come from or what the significance of that name was, or who I've never even heard of anybody with that name. I just thought it was made up. But to hear that Marilyn Monroe is named Norma Jean, I was like, hell yeah. That is awesome. I just thought that's awesome. I think Norma Jean is such a badass name.
It is a cool name. But I mean, I think it was a pretty like normal name. Like, it was like Norma Jean. And she was pretty like average before she kind of got like taken into Hollywood and made into this glamorous Marilyn Monroe. So her story is very interesting. Her life's very interesting. And what I was going to say is it's important because I think she really is someone that could have been a very good role model and voice for women in the future. And we've kind of missed out on her. So that's why I think it's important to talk about her. And there's some conspiracy tea here today.
Well, that's the whole thing. The reason that we're really talking about this is because the conspiracy about whether or not she died of you know, overdose or suicide, or was she murdered? And when you start digging into this deeper, as we are going to do today, you start realizing like, holy shit, why is this just sitting closed, like, you know, in the history books?
Yeah.
And we're all satisfied with the official story. And it's just crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me. So let's get into it. So first, let's talk just a little bit about her background and upbringing, because I think it's important to always understand where these people come from and, you know, see, you know,
just understanding what got them to that point in their life.
Yeah, she wasn't born like into royalty or this like famous life or anything like that.
No. She had a very, very troubled life, actually.
Yes,
she went through a lot of shit as a kid.
She didn't even know who her father was. He was unknown. And her mother had major mental problems and just struggled to cope with bringing up her children. Her mother was, you know, not exactly there for her kids the way that she should have been. So for the first 6 years, Marilyn was brought up by her foster parents, Albert and Ida Bullender, in the town of Hawthorne, California. Later on, her mother tried to take back Marilyn, but she suffered a mental breakdown, and Marilyn was moved between different orphanages and foster homes. So this led to, you know, her childhood being somewhat traumatic and kind of made her this shy and reserved person, as it would make anybody that has to go through this. I mean, it's very difficult to bounce around between homes, and I have a huge place in my heart for foster children out there and people that grow up in foster homes, because it is very, very tough, and none of us can even imagine what it'd be like to have major issues with your real parents, or you don't even know them, and you're forced to sort of, you know, bounce around between just random people's homes and try to like find a new family, you know?
And you really never have anyone, you know, like it's very traumatic as a human on this planet to feel like no one's really there for you.
Yeah,
you know, like,
absolutely.
And I'm sure some of you out there may have even gone through that. Like, a lot of people do. And I think going from different foster homes and orphanages it just made her feel like no one really cared that much about her, but it made her develop a really strong, tough, independent personality.
That's the payoff of growing up like this, is that it does force you to grow up a lot quicker, and it forces you to, kind of walk with some authority
hands,
really, exactly. Take matters in your own hands and, hopefully lead the life that you want to live regardless of your upbringing. So, but what was crazy to me is that in 1942, she had just turned 16 years old, and then she got married to her next door neighbor, Jimmy Doherty, who was 21 years old.
She was so young.
That's so young. Nobody should be... Take it from nobody should be taking married.
She was like, someone cares about me. It's
right.
It's a family. Like, and she really took on her duty of like being a wife. She was really into being a housewife. And remember, he was saying that she was a great cook.
Of her. She was a great cook and cleaned the house, basically.
We were watching a documentary about her, and they interviewed Jimmy, and he was like, she was good. She was an excellent, immaculate house cleaner.
First two
and
things he says.
Cook.
Not she was gorgeous. I loved her. She's
or not
beautiful.
Like she loved me, or she was so kind and caring.
Food was good. House was clean.
Yeah, so she gets a decent. She was like B+.
She was a great wife. Yeah, man. The food was hot.
But as you can probably guess, this did not last very long. This relationship.
Because actually, a year later, Jimmy left to join the Merchant Marines in order to participate in America's war effort. Because it was 1943, World War II is going on. Major things are happening. And
she's like, I'm only 16. I'm alone. She didn't have kids. And remember, she was even asking him to have kids. She started to think like, I'm going to be fucking bored when you're gone.
Yeah.
And she wanted to have a piece of him. So she asked him if they could try for a baby before he left so that she could have something of him. Yeah, and have something to do, I'm pretty sure. So when she was just alone, she was like, well,
as soon as he left, she was like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So
they kind of she did start working, as so many women did. This is like the Rosie the Riveter stage.
Yeah. This is what women did in 1940s. They were, you had to go work in the factories because literally because of the draft and everything in World War II, all the men, all the young men were off doing various things for the war, fighting, all that. So there was a limited number of men in the factory. So, the women really stepped it up and helped make ammunition, actually, because that's where she got her job and started
ammunition factory.
Started working in Burbank, California, and it was here that Marilyn got her first big break. The photographer.
That's so interesting,
isn't it? It's so random, right? Yep. It's just so random. But this photographer, David Conover, was covering the munitions factory to show women at work for the war effort when he was struck by the beauty and photogenic nature of Norma, or Marilyn, and he used her in many of his photographs, which this enabled her to start a career as a model, and she was soon featured on the front of many magazine covers.
Yep.
So if you're watching this, here's a picture of her appearing in the Yank Army Weekly, and this was like one of the first modeling pictures we have of her, I believe.
Yeah.
And look how young she looks there. Yep. She looks like a kid still.
Yep. She was the poster girl for the good American girl working hard.
Literally like 17 years old. Not even 18 there, probably.
Yep. Wow.
Super, super young.
She's so pretty.
But then in 1946, she actually got divorced from Jimmy, and that was the point that she changed her name from, in her opinion, the boring Norma Baker to the more glamorous Marilyn Monroe, which is interesting because I think one of her grandmas had Marilyn, was named Marilyn, and then the other one had, maybe it's the other way around, Monroe. But anyway, she got the names from
somewhere in her family,
somewhere in the family,
and she came up with it herself. Because a lot of times they'll just give you a name, like, "Hey, your name is this now." But they probably started telling her, like, people she was working with industry, like, get something better than Norma Baker, Norma Jean, or whatever. It's boring.
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe sounds so.
It does.
Like
it just flows.
Hollywood.
It sounds like a movie star name.
Yeah.
So after she changed her name, she then started to take some drama lessons and got her first movie contract with 20th Century Fox. Her first few films were very low key, but from these beginnings, it gained more prominent roles in films such as All About Eve, Niagara, and later Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. That's such a funny title to me. But anyway, and How to Marry a Millionaire. And these successful film roles thrust her into the global spotlight, and she became an iconic figure of Hollywood glamour and fashion. So that's really how she started, getting more jobs and more gigs, was some of those first movies. But then she faced a scandal when it was revealed that she had posed for nude photos before she became a star. But the story did not tarnish her career. Instead, it resulted in increased interest in her films. So I think she was like kind of one of the first women that really, I mean, not the first, but I think like being a popular Hollywood actor, because like back then they weren't doing like full nude scenes or anything like that really, in the cinema at that time.
No,
it was kind of risque,
very actually.
In that same year, actually, her images were used as the centerfold and in the cover of the first issue of Playboy, the men's magazine. That's really interesting. I never knew she was in the very first issue of Playboy.
Yeah.
So in a way, she kind of was this, statue or
sex symbol.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Of beauty, and like, this is, kind of, I guess what beauty is at that time.
Yeah.
But she always, from day one, as she started getting famous, she always struggled with being famous. It was very hard on her. And, you can only imagine. I mean, I think the main thing is I don't think she ever had the support that you need when you're famous. Like,
right.
I think if most famous people do better when they have a good support system behind them, because doing that shit on your own, especially in her situation, would have been very tough.
Very.
So someone that she had been friends with for a while is Joe DiMaggio. They were actually friends for over 2 years in 1954.
And he was a baseball player.
Yeah, he's a very, very famous New York Yankees baseball player, Joe DiMaggio. But it's weird, though. He seems like an interesting guy, but he doesn't really seem like her type to me. He was very like kind of reserved and didn't like the limelight, didn't want to be, sort of out in the spotlight and
I think
all the
though,
fame
like,
and stuff.
Deep down, though, she like was more calm and reserved than you would think. Like, he was very like conservative and mellow and quiet, but like, I think that was kind of appealing to her because I don't know. I think it was kind of a way to like make sure she was successful and like taken care of in the world, fame and everything. But how much did she actually want to be in the spotlight? It's not like she grew up wanting that. She was discovered on her own. Like, she wasn't looking
like
for
she
it.
was planning to be a model and a Hollywood actress.
I think she was playing a part. Like, being Marilyn Monroe was different than being Norma Jean, different. She was like two different people.
I don't know,
like a
though.
Hannah Montana situation.
See, that's the thing is, I think.
But then she became more and more like Marilyn over the years. But at first,
original Marilyn,
originally
OG Marilyn was more.
I'm saying
chill.
Norma Jean before she changed.
Norma Jean. No, her name's Norma
sorry,
Jean.
I'm thinking. Yeah, Norma Jean. Before she changed into and became Marilyn Monroe as we know her today, like, it took time for her to embrace the glamorous lifestyle more,
and it kind of maybe took hold on her eventually.
Yeah, I think it did,
and kind of went to the
and
head.
that's why
a
they
little
had
bit.
so many issues. But I think deep down they had that like that similarity on a core level. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I know exactly what you mean.
Because they had a lot of issues throughout their entire relationship.
It seems like kind of a roller coaster.
I think she was caught in between two worlds. Like I said, she's Hannah Montana. She was like, who she really deep down wants to be, and like who she thought she needed to become.
Yeah. No, I totally
That's just
agree.
how I saw her.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. But yeah, she was like one of the biggest stars at the time. And at that period of time in 1950, she was actually getting paid way less than most of the other stars
Shocking.
at the time. Yeah, shocking for women not to be paid equally. But anyway.
Yeah.
What was interesting too is that she didn't want to be typecast as the blonde bombshell. She'd rather play a more simple role in comedies and musicals and things like that.
Even dramas, she wanted like serious roles.
Yeah, she wanted to be taken seriously as an actress, not just like, oh, we only hired you because you're hot, you'll get the men to watch it.
Yeah, so she didn't like being that. She even expressed that to them, and they like basically told her to shut up.
Yeah, well, she kept trying to get equal pay from 20th Century Fox, and they eventually suspended her contract.
Yeah, and she was starting to pressure them about the roles. Like, she was like, why am I not getting anything but blonde bombshell, pretty much dumb blonde roles? Like,
that's literally how she
smart.
acts. If you've never seen her act, just YouTube a video of her, and she does play that kind of like dumb, like,
but people around her, like people she worked with, I cannot believe I'm wearing sunglasses. I just looked at how stupid I look. But people around her said that she was actually very smart. She just didn't have the opportunity to have an education that she should have had growing up. But as she got older, she actually was very smart, was really into learning and reading. And I think she was really playing a role. Like she was stuck. Like I said,
she figured out like, this is how I make money.
This is how I keep myself secure.
I'll play the game.
Yeah, exactly. And once you go through life being bounced around in foster homes and working in factories, like you're going to take an opportunity to be Marilyn Monroe. If someone comes up to you and says, dude, like you want to make a bunch of money and be this, like, of course she's going to do it. But I think at some point, it wasn't always like who she really was at a core level.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't. I think it was
hard for her.
I think it was very hard for her, and
to feel
probably
like
more
she's
so than we
playing a
even
part.
understand. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like mentally playing that in your head and like wrestling with yourself about that.
Yeah.
All the time would be very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So and she did exactly that, and she kind of battled with the 20th Century Fox to the point where in 1955 or in late 1954 she created Marilyn Monroe Productions. She dedicated 1955 to building her company and began studying method acting at the Actors Studio.
See, she's a smart woman.
And as soon as she did that, though, of course, Fox comes back and like, okay, all right, you're gonna go do it on your own, and we'll miss out on that money, because she was that hot. Like she was like, and I mean that in the sense like she was successful and
she was a hot commodity,
highly sought after. Like people wanted her in their films. So
you put
she
her
got
name
what
on
she
any
wanted
of it.
at the end of the day. She took
there was
charge.
Not like celebrities at the time like there are now. Like it was like she was like one of the first really big celebrities where she would go around the world and people would like scream and freak out and take pictures of her. Like she was
what would
such
you equate
an
her
icon.
to today? Like kind of like, I hate saying this, but like Kim K. Like
I guess, but like it's so different because back then there just wasn't nearly as many. It was just she was so like there wasn't that many other people even around at the time. There were, but like no one like
it was way
shined
smaller.
like her.
The pool of
she was like the one. She was the
way
only
smaller
one.
too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was way different back then. But despite the media often being dismissive of Monroe's potential, her efforts to improve acting paid off. And later films that she starred in received critical acclaim for her wider scope of acting, which she was nominated for the Golden Globe Best Actress Award for Bus Stop in 1956, and in the 1959 she won a Golden Globe for her role. She won a Golden Globe for her role in Some Like It Hot. But obviously, as she's becoming more successful, she's starting to win some Golden Globes. Her relationship with Joe DiMaggio became strained, and he became very controlling and very jealous too. Especially if you're a jealous guy, you probably shouldn't be with like, the hottest actress on the scene.
Yeah.
That's not a recipe for a good relationship. It was so bad to the point, like for the Golden Globes and award ceremonies, he wouldn't even go in with her. Like he would wait in the lobby and shit.
Yeah, he started to like really resent the whole fame life. And I think there's obviously more to the story. We don't know like what was involved in their relationship and stuff. And I'm sure it was just like, feeling like he wasn't a priority in her life and she was being tugged in so many different directions and so busy and like just the stress of it all.
Yeah. I think it just gets, I think this happens to a lot of Hollywood relationships and couples, is that it's a lot to balance. I mean, it's a lot to balance the fame life and all of the different things that go along with being a movie star, to then, having trying to have a normal relationship, especially if you have somebody else that's famous on the other side, because like Joe DiMaggio was still like famous.
Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. Like he was definitely famous. I mean, it's just different though. It was a sports star, and a Hollywood star. So it's going to be a little bit different. But later on, Marilyn filed for divorce, even though the two remained good friends after the divorce. At which point, Marilyn began dating playwright Arthur Miller and got married for a third time in 1956, which I don't know. I don't know why she married this guy. I really don't. I think maybe she married it because he was, a playwright and she could get some work because of it.
Yeah.
But this was not very good for her. In fact, in order to get married, she converted to Judaism, and the marriage received significant media interest for the combination of Miller, who was a left-wing intellectual, and Monroe, the perceived dumb blonde.
Yeah.
The marriage was sometimes referred to rather unkindly as egghead weds hourglass.
Wow.
Egghead weds hourglass. So
savage.
Clearly people thought it was odd that the two were together. And to complicate matters, Miller was under investigation for his alleged communist sympathies. And media bosses encouraged Monroe to end the relationship, but Monroe was unmoved. The FBI opened a file on her, worried about the political views of her husband. So they apparently opened a file because they were seriously worried about communist ties that Mr. Miller might have had. So they actually separated after filming wrapped for the film they were working on, and she was granted a quick divorce in Mexico in January 1961. The movie The Misfits was released the following month, which was Monroe's last completed film, but it completely flopped at the box office. So now we're getting into the final years of, sadly, of Marilyn Monroe's existence, 1961 to 1962. And at this period of time, instead of working, Marilyn spent the first 6 months of 1961 preoccupied by health problems.
Yeah.
She underwent surgery for her endometriosis, a cholecystectomy. Yeah, cholecystectomy. Yeah. And spent 4 weeks in hospital care, including a brief stint in a mental ward for depression, which they used to put people in mental wards for depression. I can't even imagine how
shitty that was.
Yeah. Oh, you're depressed? All right, we'll put you in the
60s.
The asylum. Probably wasn't that bad, but
probably was pretty bad. They didn't really have a good understanding of depression and mental illness back then.
But throughout all these years, practices. Her ex-husband Joe DiMaggio was kind of there for her and a friend. Like, he was definitely like her backbone, like as far as like a friend goes. And
yeah, he was that one person in her life that was really always there for her.
And always, had her back. Truly cared about her. Yeah, exactly.
In a family sense.
So after dealing with some of those health issues in the spring of 1961, Marilyn also moved back to California after 6 years on the East Coast. She dated Frank Sinatra for several months. And in early 1962, she purchased a house in Brentwood, Los Angeles. Monroe returned to the public eye in the spring of 1962, and she received a World Film Favorite Golden Globe Award and began to shoot a new film for 20th Century Fox, Something's Got to Give, a remake of My Favorite Wife. Days before the filming began, Monroe caught sinusitis. Despite medical advice to postpone the production, Fox began it as planned in late April. Monroe was too ill to work for the majority of the next 6 weeks, but despite confirmations by multiple doctors, the studio tried to put pressure on her by alleging publicly that she was faking it. That's fucked up.
Yeah, that is. That's so stressful.
So not only that, but she's got 20th Century Fox like on her ass.
Yeah.
Putting all this unneeded pressure on her, telling her she's faking an illness, which is absolutely insane. But it was on May 19th when this famous memory of her that we have at this moment in history, where she actually sang Happy Birthday on stage at President John F. Kennedy's birthday celebration at Madison Square Garden in New York, which the clip's out there actually.
Yeah, can I look it up? I don't think it's copyrighted.
I don't know. Just we'll have them YouTube it. Or not.
Or not.
But it's an iconic little clip of her on stage, and I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
It was very sexual. So, of course, there's been like so many parodies and stuff since that time.
And she was wearing a beige skin-tight dress that night, covered in rhinestones, which actually made her look nude. And a lot of people interesting that she did that. Who'd she do that for?
I would love to. I wish we could see a color picture of that, what she looked like.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is one.
There's a picture of her actually with John F. Kennedy and Bobby
like
Kennedy.
sepia.
This is like one of the most famous pictures of them together. And it shows Marilyn Monroe standing between President John F. Kennedy and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy on May 19, 1962 at a Hollywood executive townhouse. following the rally for the president's 45th birthday. So she's wearing that same dress, and it's this iconic photo of her standing between them. And obviously, the reason why we're saying that is because the Kennedys are like literally the centerpiece of the conspiracy here, which there's a ton of rumors that suggest that she was having an affair with John or Jack and Robert Kennedy, or both. Yeah, exactly. So the fact that there's this photo and she's, you know, dressed like this, it's very interesting to look at. So obviously when she did this, the Fox executives were pissed, and they actually wanted her to cancel it, but she was like, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway. But this is where things get a bit sad. All right. We're going to start talking about the end of her life, the final days. So during the final months of her life, Monroe lived at 12305 Fifth Helena Drive in the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, was staying overnight at the home on the evening of August 5th, 1962. Murray awoke at 3 a.m. on August 6th and sensed that something was wrong. And again, just a note, this is the official account.
Yeah.
Official. So, although she saw a light from under Monroe's bedroom door, she was unable to get a response and found that the door was locked. So Murray thought it was a good idea. Let's call the psychiatrist up at 3 a.m. Dr. Ralph Greenson, who arrived at the house shortly after and apparently was the one that broke into the bedroom through a window, in which he found Monroe dead in her bed. She was then pronounced dead by her physician, Dr. Hyman Engelberg, who arrived at the house around 3:50 a.m. Yet no one thought, maybe we should call the police because maybe she didn't die of an overdose.
Yeah.
But we'll just call the psychiatrist and the doctor.
Yeah.
First. No ambulance, no paramedics, no police. Come on.
It could be because they didn't trust
But that was the thing, is they didn't want this like getting out if it was like something bad, like a suicide or something. That was
they
their
were trying
excuse.
to protect her.
Or that's the way the story goes, is that's why they didn't call the police.
Yeah.
Or there was no, you know what they said it was? They said it was Fox. They said it was like her executives, I think the executives at Fox that didn't want this out because she was working for them and it would have fucked up their films and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. But here's something interesting. So Sergeant Jack Clemens inquired as to why police hadn't been notified earlier. This was the police officer that was the first on the scene, and he was told by Mr. Greenson that he had to get permission from the publicity department at the studio. And that's why he couldn't notify anyone. At 4:25 a.m., they finally notified the Los Angeles Police Department. So this is several hours from them finding it, or an hour and a half or so that they find her, or hour. But this is interesting. So her housekeeper was found washing her bed sheets the night of her death. And this is coming from Sergeant Jack Clemens of the Los Angeles Police Department, who again was the first person to arrive on the scene. Later in his own writings of the event, he recalled that Monroe's housekeeper, Eunice Murray, was running the washing machine when he arrived. He also noted that Murray was acting strangely and was evasive when questioned. Detective Sergeant Robert E. Byron, who arrived on the scene a few minutes after Clemens, also noted in his report that Murray was acting like an unreliable witness, he wrote. It is an officer's opinion that Mrs. Murray was vague and possibly evasive in answering questions pertaining to the activities of Miss Monroe during this time. So this is kind of huge if this is in fact true, what these police officers said, right? Because, I mean, you're going to trust police to some extent in this type of situation. And if what they're saying is true, then, you know, police are trained and do have a way of knowing when people are bullshitting them. And they're very good at detecting liars and detecting, you know, people that are trying to kind of evade their questions and stuff. So that's very interesting that the housekeeper was acting strange. Not only that, the housekeeper's timeline changed frequently. Eunice Murray's story changed often the night of Monroe's murder. She originally claimed she awoke around 3 a.m. and saw a light under Monroe's door, which caused her to become alarmed.
Like, but why? What if she was just up having the shits or something? No, but for real,
just,
like why would you see light and be like, it's weird.
Well, how long were you standing there too to see if the light would go off?
I can't remember if she like said Marilyn, and didn't. I I think if I remember right, she did. Like, she tried to like get her attention and didn't hear anything, and then she got worried. I don't know. It's so weird.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I even
weird.
ever saw that or not, but
yeah,
it's weird that she thought to call the psychiatrist though.
Yeah, that is just so odd.
Like if this is just an innocent situation where a housekeeper happens to not be able to like get a hold of the resident, like what makes them think that they would call
that's
the
really
psychiatrist, unless maybe there is some like already laid out instructions by Marilyn or whatever, her team.
Well, if I remember right, she had like a meeting with the psychologist like earlier that day.
Yeah, I think they did something with her meds too or something. Wasn't it something like that? And like they were supposed to call.
Or she had like a really rough therapy session. Like she was having a really, really hard time. So I think she was worried.
Why would the housekeeper know this?
Well, I think she just like knew
Probably
her
told
pretty
it,
well.
Or, yeah, just kind of was like.
Yeah. She was at therapy and they came home really upset. Well, that's how the story goes. So I think that's why she called, is because she was worried it was something mental health related. I think that when something was wrong and she sensed something, she like meant that she sensed Marilyn had done something to herself. You know?
I guess.
It's
confusing.
I'm trying to make sense of what they are saying. Not
I mean,
what's
the story is very confusing, especially when you throw in Sergeant Clemens' information in here. And according to Sergeant Clemens, he said Murray told him that she phoned Greenson around midnight.
Wow.
And she later changed the time to 3 a.m. when questioned by a different detective.
That's
a huge fucking
difference.
Red flag. If she's lying about what time, then
that's really weird.
You got to look into that some more.
That's odd.
Other people who claimed they were told Monroe had died around midnight were Peter Lawford, who persisted in trying to check up on her after their earlier conversation, and Milton Rudin, her attorney, who was given the news by Dr. Greenson himself. These discrepancies in time have been interpreted as proof that Greenson and Murray were staging their own cover-up of the actress's death between midnight and when the police was called finally at 4:25 a.m. Which this is one of the theories that we'll talk about, is that this idea that they staged this, and we'll talk about more why in a minute. But according to the medical examiner's report, Monroe had died between 8:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. on August 5th. And the toxicology report revealed that the cause of death was acute barbiturate poisoning. But Monroe's doctor stated that she had been prone to severe fears and frequent depressions with abrupt and unpredictable mood changes and had overdosed several times in the past, possibly intentionally. And due to these facts and the lack of any indication of foul play, immediately, Deputy Coroner Thomas Noguchi classified her death as a probable suicide. So the official story, which hit the front page, was that she overdosed on over 40 Nembutal pills. However, no pills were found in her stomach.
Yeah. 40 of them, not a single one.
How is she getting 40 pills in her body without?
Well, they said that like she was used to taking these types of pills because she was like an addict, like was having trouble with
that many
with drugs. Yeah, that's their explanation, that someone who uses a lot of it, that it would be absorbed and digested more quickly than someone. Yeah,
right. So she would need 40.
Well, they were saying it would be like, it wouldn't be found in her stomach because it would be absorbed into the body very quick. I don't think so, though.
I don't buy that. I don't buy.
You wouldn't find any remnants of anything.
It's not like your body just becomes like, just like absorbs it immediately. Yeah. I mean, unless they literally timed it out perfectly and were like, all right, she'll overdose at this time, and by this time, when the coroner gets a hold of him, it'll be out of this.
Why would they not want her to?
Well,
that doesn't make sense. They would want it to be in there for their proof that that's what happened to her.
That is true.
Yeah.
So then that makes you think maybe they weren't involved.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Dr. Noguchi, I'm probably saying that wrong, but was tasked with the autopsy.
I think it's right. Noguchi looks right to me.
It looks Noguchi. Dr. Noguchi. No,
he's got no Gucci.
Yeah. This doctor ain't got no Gucci. Oh, it's so fucked up we're saying that. But anyway, she was. It's not.
It's not.
But Dr. Noguchi was tasked with the autopsy, but he wasn't exactly given a complete picture. According to him, when he received Monroe's body in the morgue, the samples from her stomach and intestines were destroyed.
Oh my God, that's disgusting and sad.
Clearly affected toxicology reports, which made Noguchi believe people would think she was murdered. He also discovered other organs were sent to toxicology labs, but tests were never done.
Wow.
Surprise, surprise.
How's this kind of shit get, like, it's just unbelievable.
There needs to be some more oversight with the damn coroners. I'm telling you, man.
And people need to pay attention more and demand more
answers, like not be satisfied with whatever they just put out, like question it a little bit. Or especially if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But they probably didn't tell them at the time that all this was wrong, that the stomach and intestines were destroyed. But the only parts of Monroe's body that were put to complete toxicology tests were samples of her blood and her liver.
That's disgusting. What the hell?
Yeah.
How does this stuff slide? It's so unbelievable.
So that all that right there, and because of those circumstances, I don't think you can just take the medical examiner or coroner's report at face value and be like, oh yeah, she died of an overdose of 40 Nembutal pills.
Especially when you know all the stuff we know about all the different cases that are that include corrupt coroners. That's weird. There actually are quite a bit of just bizarre, things that happen to bodies or just
Sometimes they just literally make shit up. Sometimes they literally just take what they got and they're just like, all right.
It'd be more regulated, especially for someone like Marilyn Monroe. Like, you do it fucking right, but apparently some Joe Schmo did it. They didn't look at his Yelp reviews clearly because he did a shit job.
Seriously though.
But I mean, have you
ever been to like a coroner's office or into like the room where they do autopsies?
We've been married for 6 years. You think I would have told you that?
No, I thought you have.
No, I have not. When would I have ever been in a coroner room? What are you talking about? Have you?
Yeah, I have actually.
What?
Yeah, I've been to into the room where they do autopsies and seen all the tools and everything and how they do it.
When did you do that?
It was probably like when I was like 13. 14.
Like through what?
My dad took me to.
Oh wow!
Like when I was starting to get interested in law enforcement and
I learned something new about you all the time.
My dad took me to the county offices and we got a tour of the morgue and all of that stuff and the autopsies.
Wow.
And it blew my mind. Yeah. And then I went to the library and checked out a book.
You never told me that. I feel like there's so many things that you just don't tell me.
That's because you got to decode the key to get to the...
Josh knows all my shit. He knows all my good stories. He knows everything that's ever happened to me.
And I like to keep it exciting, keep you on your toes. Like, you never know what you're going to get from me.
You know, I have no secrets. Not secrets, but like, I have no interesting things you don't know about me.
Oh, I got some more stuff. But won't be available for 10 more years. But obviously, Marilyn Monroe passing was a huge deal. I mean, it hit everybody extremely hard. She was an international star at this point, so it was like front page news in the United States, Europe, pretty much everywhere. People knew about her death. Her funeral was held at the Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery on August 8th and was private and attended by only her closest associates. Hundreds of spectators crowded the streets around the cemetery, and Monroe was later entombed at crypt number 24 at the Corridor of Memories. So after that, for a decent amount of time, I guess it's 1962, so almost 10 years or so, people kind of were rolling with the official story, I think, and kind of like just kind of accepted it and we're like, okay.
Well, that was how it was back then. Like, no one was questioning shit back then.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that was the thing, is like your access to information is limited.
People wouldn't even know what a conspiracy theorist even was back then.
No.
Like a conspiracy.
And
JFK hadn't even died yet.
No. And conspiracy theorists are, back then were like actual people that looked at things like this and created theories.
Their own theories,
And that's how it really got started. So we will get into the numerous conspiracy theories in a minute, but first we want to thank our favorite, Quip, for sponsoring today's episode. The new year means new resolutions, and we've got one you're working on twice every day. We're not perfect, but we can do better, and the Quip is a better electric toothbrush that can help. Quip is a great product, guys. It's affordable. It makes brushing your teeth a no-brainer. It's very easy. You basically sign up, you get a toothbrush, and that toothbrush lasts you for a very long time. And then it's great. They send you refill packs every month or so, and all you got to do is replace the head. They even send you a Quip battery to replace the battery in your electric toothbrush. And we honestly love our Quip toothbrushes. The vibrations of the brushes are like perfect. It's not too crazy. It's great for people that have sensitive gums. and it's got a built-in 2-minute timer. Every 30 seconds, it tells you to switch sides. It's got a multi-use cover, which works as a stand, which is really nice. Keep your toothbrush off of your... I'm sure a lot of us just put our toothbrush on the top of the counter, and it's filthy there usually. So you got this nice little stand that sticks on your mirror. Pop it in there. You can travel with it. It's basically just the best electric toothbrush. It's accepted by the American Dental Association, which is backed by over 25,000 dental professionals, and they have thousands of verified 5-star reviews. That is why we love Quip. It's super easy. It's kind of, set it and forget about it. And, you'll have happy, healthy, clean teeth because of it. And that's why over 1 million happy, healthy mouths do too. Quip starts at just $25. And if you go to getquip.com/milehigher right now, you can get your first refill pack for free. That's right. You get your first refill pack for free at getquip.com/milehigher. That's what's up. All right. This is where things just get really, really interesting about Marilyn Monroe's death. And when we start talking about the conspiracy. So as we noted, the idea that Marilyn Monroe had a relationship with the Kennedy family factors into basically every conspiracy about her death for the most part.
Yes.
Because she was famously rumored to have slept with President John F. Kennedy while he was alive. But later on, rumors also claim that she was having an affair with JFK's younger brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, or Bobby. Now, a man by the name Norman Mailer's released a biography of Marilyn Monroe and was one of the first to suggest that foul play was a factor in Monroe's death. In the 1960s, a self-published biography by Frank A. Capel made claims that Monroe was murdered as part of a communist conspiracy. The allegations of murder first became part of mainstream discussion with the publication of Norman Mailer's Marilyn, a biography in 1973. So this was kind of like, it wasn't until the 70s that the conspiracy theories started popping up, and it was really got started with Norman Mailer's biography. And despite not having any evidence to prove it, Mailer basically claimed that Monroe and Robert F. Kennedy had an affair and speculated that she was killed by either the FBI or CIA, who wished to use the murder as a point of pressure against the Kennedys. And from that theory, it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
But but that's why the Kennedys, it basically became, the Kennedys are trying to cover up this affair that they had, and they started getting pressure, so they had to get rid of her, essentially. And in this particular case, I think they're insinuating that Robert may have had a hand in it, possibly, but ultimately she was killed by the FBI or CIA. Now let's talk a little bit more about some of the other theories that involve the Kennedys. So in 2007, an Australian filmmaker named Felipe Mora discovered a partially redacted FBI document that suggests Robert Kennedy may have been complicit in a plot to induce her suicide. Also implicated in this theory is Kennedy's brother-in-law, actor Peter Lawford, is a conspiracy's lead. Monroe psychiatrist Dr. Ralph Greenson, housekeeper Eunice Murray, and agent Pat Newcomb. So all of these people essentially conspired to induce Marilyn Monroe's suicide by this particular conspiracy theories. Basically saying that the depressive Monroe, who had struggled with drug and alcohol abuse, had been known to seek attention by staging suicide attempts, and the document suggests she was given the means to do so. The barbiturate Seconal by the alleged conspirators, but was then left to die. That's interesting. So basically, they all conspiring together gave her the barbiturate concoction or whatever in order for her to commit suicide, essentially. And apparently there's an FBI file that sort of suggests this plot. So the reason behind this theory is that they wanted to silence Monroe because she had threatened to reveal her affairs with the Kennedy brothers. And Monroe was also thought to be a liability, allegedly keeping records of conversations detailing highly confidential government information in a little red diary. So when you look into this more, it seems like there might be some truth to this. And obviously I couldn't find like the FBI document they're referring to here. And apparently there is this journal really does exist. She really did write down things like this. Like this could absolutely be real. But then again, we don't know for sure.
Yeah. There's so much confusion with this one.
So another theory is that Bobby Kennedy didn't kill Marilyn Monroe, but he staged her death as a suicide. So basically, this particular individual claims that Monroe accidentally OD'd but died on the way to the hospital. So Lawford Kennedy and FBI director J. Edgar Hoover staged her death as a suicide. Which I don't know. I don't know if the FBI director would get involved with that. Probably not.
J. Edgar Hoover?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would.
I think he probably would because he was involved with stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, he's the one who took out Martin Luther King. Heavily involved in the Kennedys.
Right. You're right.
So yeah, he was not a bad. I mean, he was a bad guy, and I definitely think he would get involved because. She had enough influence, dude. She had so much influence, and she was a woman, which threatens people even more for some fucking reason. So I don't know.
Well, the root is that she had, she was going to expose. She had an affair with both of them. I mean, imagine if that had come out like at that time, like how big
it would ruin.
If that had been,
Kennedys.
If that was indeed true, which I think it was, and that did come out at that time, that would have blown up the Kennedys big time.
Oh yeah.
And obviously they didn't want that to happen. So maybe they were, they had to suppress her in some way. And they figured, we could set it up and stage it like a suicide because of her history and because of what we know about her, and nobody would blink an eye.
Yeah.
Another theory that involves Kennedys was that she was killed by the CIA to hurt the Kennedys. And this Matthew Smith in the book Victim, The Secret Tapes of Marilyn Monroe claims that the CIA knew Monroe and Robert Kennedy were having an affair and killed her to get back at the Kennedy family for the Bay of Pigs invasion disaster.
Yeah, see, personally, I don't think the Kennedys actually had any involvement with it themselves. I think it would be more likely that someone did it to hurt them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that either of the Kennedys would do that.
Yeah, I don't think that they would have. I think they could have had an affair with her? Absolutely.
Yes,
but
they did.
I think that they did. They obviously liked her.
Yeah.
Why would they want to kill her? Even to suppress their, maybe they hinted that they wanted her to be suppressed or stop talking, or maybe they knew that, oh shit, we probably said too much when we were, hanging out last night. But
yeah,
I don't know if they necessarily did it. But another big theory that's out there is that the mafia did it. Now, I personally, I'll just say I don't know a ton about the mafia because it's organized crime. It's pretty complex, and
yeah, it is.
There's a lot of layers to it. So I'm going to do my best to try to explain this theory. But basically, the theory is that Bobby Kennedy materialized the theory with the allegation of renowned wiretapper Bernard Spindle, who had bugged Monroe's house, possibly on the orders of a crooked union leader, Jimmy Hoffa, or Chicago Mafia boss, Sam Giancana. Despite reported sightings of him in LA and entering her house, Kennedy stated that he was in San Francisco on the night of Monroe's death. But Spindle claims to have heard Kennedy and Monroe fighting that night with Lawford present, followed by a loud bang, thought to be the moment of her death. The recordings were reportedly seized and destroyed in 1966. Giancana wanted Monroe, who was thought to have had a relationship with his henchman, Johnny Roselli, dead, according to biographer Darwin Porter, author of Marilyn at Rainbow's End, Sex, Lies, Murder, and the Great Cover-Up, as she was threatening to blow the lid off his operations. The Don is said to have had Monroe over a barrel after coercing the Screen Siren's first Hollywood contract in return for her seduction of powerful men that the mobster wanted to blackmail.
Interesting.
That would be pretty crazy if she got herself intertwined with the
Something
mob
like
this. Yeah. Because, I mean, it could absolutely be. And a lot of people actually think that the mob, out of everybody, not CIA, not FBI, nothing like that, that it was the mob that came after her.
The thing is, though, is that like there's a lot of proof that all these groups work together, that like the government works with organized crime groups illegally.
Yeah, or that, maybe the government
both have interests in it. They'll protect them.
Dirty and working with the mob and had the mob.
Well, I mean,
but the way that she died though doesn't scream mob to me.
No.
It's not like she got shot. It would be if she got shot or like taken or something like.
But they also are like pros at making it look like an accident. So yeah, it actually does look like a mob death. Honestly,
it's very organized, very clean, very staged. It seems.
And think about the fact that like the coroner was being sketchy. There was like police being like, we're not getting the full story from government sources. So that makes me think government's involved. Now, whether or not the mafia is involved as well is like a debate. It's the same with the JFK assassination. A lot of people think the mob worked with the CIA.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly like the person that created this theory is that he believes that 5 mafia hitmen were responsible for her murder on the order of this mob boss, using a washcloth drenched in chloroform, then stripping Monroe and giving her a barbiturate enema.
Yeah. So let's talk about the enema thing. That's really weird.
Yeah.
So there's proof of the enema, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I honestly,
I'm all cloudy on this right now. I'm going to look this up for a second. Give me a second. You go talk.
When I was reading of various different things, I never saw anything that said for sure she had an enema or that the medical examiner said she had an enema. I mean, how would you know? I remember she did. Could you tell if she did or not? I don't think she. She
also had. She was known for using enemas. A lot of people use them at home.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
How do you do that? I don't even understand how an enema works.
Her stomach was empty. The capsule should have left a yellow residue. So that's when they think that she may have been given a enema.
May have been though.
Yeah. Because, let's see, she was prescribed a chloral hydrate enema from Dr. Greason.
Gotcha. Greenson. So she, as a part of her, like nightly routine to administer her meds, she had to take this prescription up the butt.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is this is so confusing.
Why?
But her autopsy reveals signs more consistent with an enema than oral ingestion. So
I don't know, man. That seems like they just were like,
But she did talk about like her sex life and her use of enemas like publicly one time. So I don't know. That's kind of how the like whole theory got started. But like that's like a big part of the theory is the whole enema thing.
That's so bizarre.
Because it's the only way that it would make sense. Unless the coroner's just lying, which is another possibility. That's why this whole conspiracy is so confusing. There's so many different
moving parts and and
just
people
confusing
that could be
elements.
Conspiring in it.
Yeah, and like we don't know who's telling the truth and who's lying and which information's true. So it's hard to put together anything.
We don't know whose story's true. The police, the doctors, the housekeeper.
And that's how they want it. They want this all confusing to the point we just look crazy trying to figure it out.
Well, it's exactly like JFK's assassination. You know, there's so many different, perspectives of what happened. There's so many different, stories and so many different testimonies about what people saw that it just becomes this confusing pile of shit, frankly, and you don't know how to decipher through it to get the truth. And you can just take whatever the official report is and just say, oh yeah, that makes sense. Must have been just been some dude that wanted to kill. No, it's like, especially when you start getting and, looking at all the different moving pieces that are a part of this murder and you start realizing like, holy shit, this guy's acting sketchy. This guy's acting sketchy.
Yeah.
This story doesn't add up. Why the fuck would they be doing this or that? So it's very, very bizarre. So mafia, maybe. Definitely could be involved. And I mean, the mafia has been involved in, taking out people before. So why wouldn't they do this? So it's very, very possible. Or it was just a cover up by her doctors, maybe. Someone claimed that her death was an accidental overdose, which happened because Monroe lied to her 2 doctors about the amount of medication she had been prescribed.
Yeah, she did. She had a problem with drugs. I mean, it's pretty clear. She was struggling. She was having health problems and, people didn't really understand drugs as much back then either. And like the power and what they were getting into.
Yeah. And I mean, they didn't understand addiction the same way that they do now. They don't understand the long-term effects of these, different substances. So yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think that the doctors are definitely sketchy. I think the psychiatrist and
we're not getting the full story.
The doctor are definitely a bit sketchy. But this is perhaps one of my favorite theories and one that honestly makes a lot of sense. And a lot of people will just scoff at this. I've read so many articles that are like, oh, this nutty theory about how she knew too much about aliens and UFOs and stuff. Just listen to this for a sec.
Yeah.
So the reason that this is one of the most interesting theories is actually because of our main man and homie, Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yep.
Who guys told you about a couple episodes back. And in his documentary on Netflix called Unacknowledged, which you should go watch it if you haven't, he claims that Monroe was murdered by the CIA because she knew the truth about Roswell and planned to reveal all. And in the film, Dr. Greer produces what he says is a classified CIA memo written just 2 days before Monroe's death.
Yeah.
And he calls it a death warrant.
He literally holds the shit up, too.
And, I've listened to a bit more of him talking about this thing. And I don't know, man, like, he does get a lot of top secret. He said the document's not even declassified. It's still a classified document. And the original is in a safe of his somewhere.
Yeah.
And so he's holding up a copy of it. And this thing has been reviewed by people that look at these types of documents all the time. And it seems pretty legit. It's definitely seems authentic. And this, we don't know for sure who gave him this document, but some type of government insider or leaker came to him with this document because he was like, he knows all the work that Dr. Greer does and, getting the truth out, things like that. And so he thought, what a good way to kind of hand it off and have him present it to everybody. But anyway, so this document reveals a lot here. And it's actually a wiretap document revealed that Monroe was planning to give a press conference about what President Kennedy had told her of a visit to an undisclosed Air Force facility where he saw the debris of a crashed UFO.
Oh my God. Don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
And this document apparently has been out there for a while, since the early 90s. He's had this document. And obviously the CIA has said it's not genuine, but
of course. Yeah. What are they going to say? Oh, you caught us.
Oh shit, you got a leaked document? But this is, all right, so let me actually read what the document says. And this document's dated August 3rd, 1962. Wiretap of telephone conversations between reporter Dorothy Kilgallen, who was looking into Roswell and other UFO issues. And this is a real reporter at the time who was like kind of groundbreaking and covering all these like interesting issues like, Roswell, which was a huge thing in the 1940s. But from a wiretap of telephone conversation of Marilyn Monroe and Attorney General Bobby Kennedy, Rothberg discussed the apparent comeback of subject with Kilgallen and the breakup with the Kennedys, basically referring to the affair that Marilyn had with both Kennedy brothers. So clearly the Kennedy brothers started getting worried that she might talk. She might talk about their affair, but might even go farther than that. But Rothberg indicated in so many words that she, Monroe, had secrets to tell, no doubt arising from her trysts with the president and the attorney general. This is all directly verbatim off this document. One such secret mentions the visit by the president at a secret air base for the purpose of inspecting things from outer space. Involved with this, guys, is clearly they're talking about like S4 Area 51, which, just so you guys know, we're covering Bob Lazar Area 51 again, or not again, next week. So we'll get into this a little bit more and talk a little bit more about Roswell and stuff. Okay. But apparently, according to this document, according to what we know, it sounds like President Kennedy went to Area 51 and was presented with what they found at Roswell, essentially, which was crashed UFO spacecraft, possibly from another world. And not only that, but unidentified or bodies, alien bodies, essentially. So could President Kennedy have seen these things and, in a late night with Monroe, discuss these with her? Yeah.
I mean, God, I would have loved to hear that conversation. My God.
So this document goes on and says, Kilgallen said that if the story is true, it'd be a terrible embarrassment for Jack and his plans to put men on the moon, which that was a huge deal with his administration, was getting the men on the moon. So they didn't want, all this spacecraft, because it would have looked really weird that they're covering it up and all this and everything. Yeah. And, they were trying to be like, oh, this is a huge thing. We got to get to the moon. Yet we got, aliens crash landing in our country. Yeah. So,
well, and we're not controlling the space conversation.
Exactly. And then the document goes on to say, subject repeatedly called the attorney general and complained about the way she was being ignored by the president and his brother. So talking about Marilyn was calling Robert Kennedy, complaining about the way that they were ignoring her. Because I'm sure they got to a point where they were like, we got to stop talking to this girl. Like,
holy shit.
And she kept, trying to make contact with them, and they started freaking out.
Oh my gosh.
Subject threatened to hold a press conference and would tell all.
Wow. Can you imagine if she did?
So she was like literally threatening, like, if you guys don't talk to me and stuff, I'm gonna just go on the news and say everything you guys told me.
Yeah.
Which this sounds like so wild and crazy, because it's like, oh wow, they really trusted her with these secrets and these deep secrets and stuff. But it's like, I don't know, man. Sometimes guys will do crazy things for that hot. For beauty, man. For some.
Yeah, don't say it.
Yeah.
I know what you're gonna say, but yeah,
you know what I mean?
Pretty much.
So the implications of the Monroe wiretap document or death warrant being genuine is astounding. It reveals that only one day before her death, Monroe was planning a press conference that would reveal what President Kennedy had confidentially told her about UFOs and aliens. The fact that the CIA was monitoring her and wiretapping her phone calls directly implicates the CIA in her suspicious death and the cover-up concerning UFOs.
I agree. That's like the proof that we need.
I mean,
the fact that they were wiretapping her.
I mean, that is like, why else would they? Like,
yeah, they clearly
unless they were worried about her
talk.
I mean, it could just be they were wiretapping because of the affair, but would they do that?
Mm-mm. I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's just so weird to me. I think they were definitely involved, and that's like enough to show that what's happening to sorry. The camera did this crazy thing just now.
Just freaked me out. I just kind of had a mini heart attack.
I know,
inside.
but it started going like black and like showing these like messages.
We're being watched.
No, I'm not even kidding.
Right
it started saying like system something, and it was showing something, and it was blinking.
What?
I know. So I got scared it was going to stop recording.
Oh no.
But it still is.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, maybe it's just my sunglasses or something.
Maybe the tint on those glasses is a little too dark for you.
Maybe I literally imagined that. It looked like something weird was happening, but
this was something else interesting that Dr. Greer was talking about, was that he actually had a conversation with Burl Ives, which the only way I can remember who Burl Ives is because he's the guy who sings the Frosty the Snowman song.
Yes, I was just gonna say
the jolly guy that
Frosty the Snowman.
But believe it or not, according to Dr. Greer, Burl Ives was a 33 degree Freemason.
Wow, interesting.
And he had always stood firmly that he knew Marilyn Monroe had been killed, but didn't know why.
Wow.
And then Dr. Greer goes on to explain from the document that he has basically who issued her assassination, essentially. He claims that James Jesus Angleton, who was chief of the CIA and counterintelligence from 1954 to 1975, issued the death warrant for Marilyn Monroe. He actually signed this document that we just read from, that basically states the CIA is implicated in her assassination for these reasons. And Dr. Greer believes that Jack Kennedy was very upset about what happened, so he decided he was going to take this info public. So, which is interesting. So this kind of plays into why maybe, if you believe the conspiracy that, Jack Kennedy was going to disclose extraterrestrial life and UFOs and all this other things, dissolving the CIA. He wanted to dissolve the CIA, which the CIA did not want that to happen, clearly, because of, the operations that they're doing in the CIA. You want to get out of Vietnam and make peace with the Soviet Union. So the CIA didn't want anything to do with any of those things. So, maybe Marilyn's death plays directly into Jack Kennedy's death. It sure seems like it. And obviously, the other theory that people have is that she's still alive. And she could have, this could have been completely faked, which you said, or I think maybe the documentary that we had watched said that the coroner or the people that brought her body out claimed that her body looked kind of fake and like bloated.
Yes, actually, that I said that in my video.
But my rebuttal to that is she was dead for a while. She was confirmed dead
bodies
way
look
later,
weird.
and they do look weird, especially if she was ingested some weird concoction of some substances or something.
Yeah,
because I mean, come on, like you're a coroner, you can't tell if a body's real or fake. Come on, but especially back then.
Yeah,
unless it's like some crazy clone or something.
But that's the thing is like that's part of the theory, though, is that they knew that she was fake and they lied. They were all
They just
in on
completely
it.
lied
Everyone's
about it.
part of it.
Yeah.
It's so hard with all these things because you have to, like, there's just so many missing elements, missing truths.
Yes. Tons of missing truths here. So here's just a couple other interesting things worth noting. One is that she left a very ominous message before she died. Apparently, Monroe spoke to several people on the phone the night of her death. Among them was Peter Lawford, an old friend of the actress, and the brother-in-law of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's very interesting that she was talking to him. Wish we could hear those conversations. According to Lawford, Monroe seemed to be under the influence of drugs, and he also claims she told him, say goodbye to Pat, which was her publicist. Say goodbye to the president and say goodbye to yourself because you're a nice guy.
So odd. Why was she on the phone with him of all people?
Yeah. Lawford became extremely worried about her state or mental state and phoned several people to check up on her. When he was unable to reach Dr. Greenson, he called Monroe's lawyer, Milton A. Rudin, who in turn reached out to Monroe's housekeeper, who told him that Monroe was fine. That's interesting, too. The housekeeper, that goddamn housekeeper.
Yeah, seriously.
Sketchy, man. Not only that, but Monroe went from happy to dying in less than 30 minutes, according to a phone call she had with Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah. And he would know if anyone.
And right. He was like her best friend, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm. And he, notice how he's stayed very quiet.
Oh,
he will not do any interviews. And a lot of people think it's because he has respect for her and he doesn't want to make money off her death and everything. But a lot of people think it's because he's been told to shut the fuck up and not say anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And because he is like, and he loved her, right? He brought her roses every day for like years.
For 20 years. I think every week he sent new roses or flowers to her.
He truly did love her.
Her crypt.
And he, like, if anyone's going to believe something like this, probably him. But I'm sure he was threatened if that is true, you know?
Yeah, because between 7 p.m. and 7:15 p.m., by all accounts, he had a happy conversation with her.
Yeah.
During which
and
that
he would have known. If she was about to kill herself, he would know. He would know if she seemed off in some way.
Yeah, well, not only that, this is what's crazy about it is that he was calling to tell her he had just broken up with a young woman. A young woman Monroe disliked. And housekeeper Murray also later confirmed that Monroe was happy, gay, alert, and anything but depressed during the talk. So this is at 7:15. She, according to the official report, she was dead by 9:30.
Yeah.
How do you go from like feeling happy
sense.
and hopeful? She took her last call at 7:40 or 7:45 p.m. when she was talking to Peter Lawford. And that's when Peter Lawford was like, oh, she sounded slurred and barely audible. But maybe Mr. Lawford was cued into a few things.
Yeah.
But this is what is one of the bigger things, evidence for, you know, whenever somebody mysteriously dies, you always look at, well, were they planning future things? Was there something they wanted to look forward to? Especially when you're talking about somebody that's committed suicide, because, I mean, if you get to that point, you know, you're not looking to the future anymore. You know, you're looking for things to be over. So Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe, they were married earlier on, like we talked about, and they remained friends through the years. But they were set to remarry on August 8th, 1962, according to these biographers, which people would just say these are conspiracy theories. So we don't know. It's not like we've heard it from Joe DiMaggio, I think, from his mouth. But the idea that she may have been planning to get back with him, and, you know, after he had broken up with his other girl and they had this happy conversation together, and the fact that, you know, he sent roses to her grave, actually several times a week, actually, for 20 years. He was clearly, they clearly had like a deep connection.
They did.
You know, on an emotional.
And I think he knew the real her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think he knew exactly. I think he knew exactly who she really was. I don't know, man. I just think
her. He loved her for who she was, like not as Marilyn Monroe, you know? Like he loved Norma Jean.
Yeah, he loved good old Norma Jean Morrison. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. So if not suicide, then could it have just been just an accidental overdose?
I don't know. The fact that there's nothing in her stomach, I can't. No one overdoses with an enema, dude.
No. I'm sorry. I just don't see that happening.
It does. That's bullshit.
Out of all the ways,
that's
like,
bullshit.
why wouldn't she have just ingested it through them orally? Why? Why would you?
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe of all people is gonna die with like an enema. Come on, right? Man.
She must have known. It must have been going through her head that like people are gonna know how I died. So like if you were gonna kill yourself, you're gonna think about that kind of stuff, you know? Like,
or she just happened to like overtake.
It's gonna be in the press.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would she want to be known for killing herself with an enema? Like that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No,
it really doesn't. Why would you want to go out that way?
Yeah, and if she accidentally overdosed, you wouldn't be taking 40 barbiturates.
Yeah.
You wouldn't take 40
No,
of
you
those.
wouldn't. You absolutely wouldn't. It makes no sense.
It just doesn't make sense. Clearly something's off. Clearly we're not getting the real story. Whether, you know, it had to do with something simpler, like just an affair or something like that, or like the mafia, I don't know. Or maybe it really is like she fucking knew some stuff. I wouldn't be surprised.
Nope, I wouldn't be
like
either.
You said, men get a little, you know, they do.
Dude, sometimes when you got like these crazy hormones firing in your brain, like you just completely
They're
break
like,
down.
You know what would make you want to like have sex with me right now is if I told you some cool ass shit about aliens.
Dude, guess what I saw at Area 51 this week? Babe, seriously,
Babe.
come lay down with me. I got a story to tell you.
Yeah, like who knows what happens in pillow talk with people, and maybe they really thought they could trust
her. I said I
her,
walked in and I saw this debris of a flying saucer, guys, and literally they showed me these alien bodies that they recovered from the Roswell crash site. I didn't believe it until I saw it with my own eyes.
And maybe she promised to be secret about it, but maybe the relationship wasn't working out, like, or she was pissed that they were kind of ousting her, or like denying the relationship or denying the affair. I don't know. Who knows? And maybe she decided at that point, here's what I have against you. I can blackmail you with this shit that I know. I mean, at the end of the day, there's just so many missing, like I said, so many holes, so many missing parts that you can fill it in with whatever you want. At the end of the day, we're just not getting the full story.
And the fact that this case is like case closed is like, what?
Very bizarre.
What? This was like, hurry up, close it, let's forget about it. And the fact that it was never reopened is absolutely mind-boggling. Actually, because
it was reopened, didn't it?
No, because of it was almost reopened.
Almost
because of the conspiracy theories actually that were published in the 1970s. The Los Angeles Attorney General John Van Camp ordered a review of the actress's death in 1982, which took 3.5 months. But afterwards, they found no foul play. But more like they got a little visit from the Men in Black from the National Security Agency, and we're like, hey. No, you're not doing this.
No.
We're trying to put this away.
Yeah.
Or they're like, we're going to take it over, and then nothing ever happened. So I don't know. Too many questions, I don't know, too many.
We want to know your guys' thoughts though. Like, do you have one theory that makes more sense to you, or do you have your own theory? Like, I'm always curious. Some people have just like their own straight up theory.
Wait, just with everything being said, like, what's your personal opinion of what happened? Like, what do you think happened?
Yep.
What do you think?
Sorry. What do I think?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing is like,
if you had to choose anything, is it the official account, you think?
It's definitely something to do with JFK. I know that they had this relationship, and I think that was her connection to power and knowledge. And if anything was going to take her out, it all makes sense. At the end of the day, I think it was the CIA, and they probably did work with the mob in some way, or the mafia, that they could have been involved. It was probably a lot of different people involved. Like, it takes a lot to pull these types of things off.
Right.
But the fact that this was just hushed so much, and like everyone just moved on, including the media barely like fucking blinked. It's odd.
It's very odd.
So,
yeah. I mean, I think that when you look at everything all together, there's just so much sketchiness. I think like you said, there's a lot of different people involved in this, and the way that they pull these things off is they compartmentalize everything, and you only know what you're supposed to know, and that's it. And that's what they did to all these doctors and everything. And, maybe they didn't even know that she was going to be, dead or assassinated. I mean, clearly I think they did, but this was a very elaborate, well executed, I think, assassination that happened here. And I'm just saying that based upon what I just learned about it. I mean, I can't honestly believe the official story on this one. I just can't.
No, me either.
I really can't. The same way I can't believe the, JFK official story.
Right.
Just a random act. There's just too many moving parts.
Missing things too. Just like too many things that doesn't make sense. When there's that many things that don't make sense, chances are something weird's going on, like
Well, especially if you think about this fucking death warrant and this CIA memo, like, if this is at all authentic, which it seems like it is. Obviously, I don't know, but it seems like it is. If you can look at, I'll put a link for those that want to look at it, and it looks pretty damn authentic to me. And there's signatures. I mean, who would fake this? I mean, people, I guess, go great lengths to fake shit like this, but
but Dr. Greer, I don't think would push bullshit like that.
Why would you do that? I mean,
no, clearly something weird happened. The last thing I think is that she just took pills and died. That's not what happened. Like,
via enema.
Come on. Yeah,
not even
via enema. Like, that's even, oh my God, that's so ridiculous.
What?
There's no way she would do that. She was like, no.
She was such a classy, I just can't see that happening.
So, yes, let us know your guys' thoughts on this one for sure.
This was actually one of my favorite conspiracies I think we've done, just because it's...
Yeah.
I really didn't know that much about it coming into it.
Yeah.
I didn't know all the conspiracy angles to it that much. I didn't even know her name was Norma Jean. So, yeah. And now looking at this, I'm like, holy shit. Like, this was right at the same time, around JFK and stuff, when other things were happening. This fucking Engelberg guy and, the CIA was... I mean, we know the CIA has been doing sketchy shit for years. I mean, they're in their own fucking world, dude, and what they can do. And looking at what the CIA did with MK Ultra and mind control and experiment, all that, it's like, you definitely can't put, assassination out of their realm of things. I mean, that's fucking what they do. Otherwise, they're spies and fucking counterintelligence people. They can fool you. They can make anything look like what they want it to be. They're very sneaky and mischievous like that. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And I don't know, it's got me a little freaked out, to be honest. So
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's pretty fucking crazy. But
well, hopefully in our next podcast, I won't be wearing sunglasses because I look insane. Like, look at me, I'm like holding a bunny wearing sunglasses.
It's all right. But
welcome to the classiest podcast on the internet.
Yes,
folks.
Well, we're just conspiracy and chill today, so that's how we do things around here at the Mile Higher Podcast. But hopefully we took your guys' minds a mile higher, as we always try to do with this conspiracy. And like we said, next week we're going to dive into Bob Lazar. And if you haven't heard his story about his work at S4 and with Area 51 and flying saucers and all that good stuff,
then get
ready, because it's a very interesting story, which we will dive into. And you know me, I mean, I'm always down to talk about, aliens and UFOs and such. So I will be especially excited for that one. But thank you guys for joining us today. Yes. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, leave us a review. We really appreciate it. But yeah, that's where we'll end it today. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, stay safe.
Woke. And stay woke.
See you next time, guys.